Right, so it's the Houthis once again. Once more, their capabilities have escalated, it would appear, but has it really? And could recent events actually mean the complete opposite? Quite how they've managed to escalate, as they claim this time, has become a bit of a talking point, because their newest addition to their arsenal, a solid fuel ballistic missile, which they called the Palestine, is something they allegedly don't have the capabilities to make themselves, despite claiming the rocket to have been homemade. However, it does bear a stark resemblance to Iranian missiles of a similar type. So are Iran now giving the Houthis even bigger and better weapons, or have the Houthis now got the technology and the means to genuinely make these things themselves? Or is this just what has been lying at the bottom of their big box of fireworks, and they now brought it out due to a lack of other options? Right, so the Houthis have a new rocket. They've been quite outspoken about it. It's a bit of a whopper. A ballistic missile with complex guidance systems such that it is apparently capable of changing direction in mid-flight and avoiding anti-missile measures, which do tend to rely on tracking a certain trajectory, which, if true, though, means a marked escalation in Houthi capabilities as their continued crusade against Israel and their supporters continues in support of the people of Gaza. The development or acquisition of this rocket, the claims being made by the Houthis that they built this thing themselves, remain completely unverified. Apparently runs on solid fuel rather than liquid fuel, and that has likely come in part due to the attacks on their launching grounds by US and UK forces, the most recent of which killing 16 people. It was the first such attack to have happened in 3 months, which occurred just the other day. However, clearly if the Houthis were building this thing themselves, then they haven't done this in that kind of a time span. Clearly it's been worked on for a lot longer than that. And having seen pictures of it on various news sites such as Associated Press, I couldn't help thinking that's one heck of a shed they must have had to be building a homemade rocket of this size and capability. A homemade rocket. A homer. But it's far too high-tech for that. So where and how would the Houthis be building such a thing for themselves? We just don't know. There's so many don't knows when it comes to this lot, it's surely not completely inconceivable that as much as Iran might be supplying them with arms, that they aren't perhaps either reverse engineering these things potentially to produce their own, or have been given direct instruction on how to do so. But this thing is so new, it just seems so much more likely that they've just been handed this one, surely. At any rate, I said it was US and UK forces that might have prompted this thing's appearance, and that is down to the targeting of the Houthis' traditional launch sites. Solid fuel rockets can be set up and launched a lot faster, apparently, and with the range of this thing that it apparently has, assuming it is really an Iranian rocket dressed up as something else, and a rocket the Iranians called the Conqueror, or at the very least heavily based on that, it would have a range of something like 1,400 kilometres and reach hypersonic speeds of up to Mach 15. That's 15 times the speed of sound, making it even more difficult for anti-ballistics measures, for example the Israeli Iron Dome, to cope with and target, along with that direction change capability these things apparently have as well. However the Houthis came by it though, they got it, at least one of them, and they called it the Palestine. They even painted the warhead in the checkered black and white pattern of a Palestinian keffiyeh, which I'm not altogether sure is necessarily in the best taste, but the intent as a sign of solidarity can be clearly seen. Anyway, the Houthis fired this thing at the port city of Eilat, at the southern tip of Israel in the Gulf of Aqaba, on Monday. It managed to pass through Saudi airspace, apparently untouched, but depending on who you ask, it hit Eilat, if you listen to the Houthi spokesman Yahya Saree, but according to everyone else, it got shot down short of target. Eilat apparently being just beyond the range capabilities of this rocket, though apparently they can be rigged to surpass such range limitations. I thought it a bit odd of a target to begin with. I thought this a bit strange of a place to target, since this is the port the Houthis' shipping blockades have specifically been rendering redundant. This is the port they want the shipping to fail to come and go from. But then I thought without the port, there will be no more shipping headed Israel's way via the Red Sea, in theory anyway, or at least a lot less of it, and the Houthis would have no need to expend so much of their time in their arsenal dealing with shipping, when there is still little sign of movement towards a ceasefire and departure from Gaza on the part of Israel. At any rate, they had one of these rockets. If it was their only one, then they've used it, and therefore that is that. But of course we can't be sure of that, and even if it was, they will carry on as they have been for months anyway in their skirmishes and attacks on Red Sea shipping. But what we do know is that it bears a stark resemblance to an Iranian hypersonic missile revealed last year, as this excerpt from the Associated Press explains. Iranian media reported the launch of the Palestine and described it as locally manufactured, citing the Houthis. However, design elements on the missile resemble other missiles developed by Iran's paramilitary Revolutionary Guard. That includes one called the Fatah, or Conqueror in Farsi. Iran unveiled the missile last year and claimed it could reach Mach 15, or 15 times the speed of sound. It also described the missile's range as up to 1,400 kilometers or 870 miles. That's a little short of ILAT from Houthi-controlled areas of Yemen, but missile can be reconfigured to boost their range. In March, Russia's state-run RIA Novosti news agency quoted an anonymous source claiming the Houthis had a hypersonic missile. While we cannot say for sure what exact version the Palestine corresponds to, we can say with high certainty that it is an advanced and precision-guided, Guard-developed, solid propellant missile provided by Iran, wrote Fabian Hines, a missile expert and research fellow at the International Institute for Strategic Studies. So, expert opinion is that Iran have supplied it. It's certainly the likeliest scenario, but it is also interesting that Russia apparently knew about it a few months ago, likely around the time the Houthis would have taken delivery of it, therefore. Why wait so long to use it then, though? Perhaps the Houthis are running out of firepower. US and UK strikes have targeted weapons caches and launch areas, destroying ordnance and killing several of those involved. Iranian supplies have also been intercepted en route to Yemen, again by US and UK military, something they've been able to do because the Houthis do not control all of Yemen. They control the areas mainly around the capital Sana'a, and the closest Yemeni ports for offload to that area happen therefore to be in the Red Sea itself. And then there's the targeting of ILAT with this hypersonic missile, which may well have been kitted out to get more range out of it. And of course, by taking ILAT, as I said before, taking ILAT out, that would affect the amount of shipping that would be Israel-bound via the Red Sea, potentially saving the Houthis not only time, but ordnance as well. And if that is running out, then that may well be what has prompted their use of this rocket now. That it failed may well be quite a blow to them, therefore. The only way we will know for sure is if the attacks from Yemen dry up further. The US and UK have been claiming recently that the attacks have becoming less, though of course we only have their word for it versus the word of another. And when both these sides have taken a side, as far as Israel and Gaza are concerned, you just don't know how much is truth these days and how much is just propaganda. We've seen a bit of that already in recent days between these two sides, with the Houthis having claimed to have hit and even sunk the USS Eisenhower, the lead ship and aircraft carrier for the US Navy in the Red Sea right now. And whilst that certainly does not appear to be the case, whether or not the ship sustained some damage nonetheless, well, its movements have been a bit weird and have certainly stoked a bit of debate about that. Is this another sign of some creeping Houthi desperation now due to dwindling munitions, though? It's anyone's guess still at this point. But you can find out the details of that warship story in this video recommendation here. I'll hopefully catch you on the next vid. Cheers, folks.